Just got back from Singapore, so in this video we're going to be talking about everything that happened in Singapore from all the different events and the Parallax meetup as well, and we're also going to be talking about what's going on in the NFT markets. Just to give you guys a recap, basically I went to Singapore for the past maybe like 5 days, literally just got back. If you've seen my other videos, you know I'm filming in the hotel. Obviously respect the hustle, give this video a like if you respect that hustle. So the reason why I was in Singapore was mainly because of two things. Number one, Godjira having a series of events, and Sean, one of the founders of Godjira, was the person that actually invited me out, and also I wanted to do an event in Singapore, and so we had an event at Ledger Asia where we had pretty much like around 100 people actually show up during the peak. And if you haven't been there before, it's basically like an NFT art gallery where they really specialize in digital art, right? NFTs. So they're gonna have these screens, and we actually rented the entire second floor. So we had some of our art over there. We had our holders actually submit their art. So then the art that we were showing on screen were actually from the holders that were actually attending the event. What was really great for me was that, you know, there was actually like around 100 people that actually showed up. And those 100 people were a mix of people who were holders, they were plus ones, and also it was open to the public, right? So originally I was thinking like, hey, you know, let's just do something for the holders and their plus one. But then I realized that there are a lot of people in Singapore who are interested in the Parallax. They've been watching the channel, but they're not sure if they should, you know, buy the NFT and join the community. So that's why I opened it up to the public so that, you know, they can feel it and see what was going on. So there are two main things I was really looking to do for the event. Number one was connect people in our community, because like a lot of times we talk on Discord and it's cool and you make friends that way, but it's totally different when you actually meet the person in person and get a vibe of who they are, right? So there's always that powerful human connection when it comes to in person. The second thing I wanted to do was educate, right? And so I actually did a talk on how to build NFT narratives, and narrative is everything in this economy essentially, right? Narrative and attention. So if you can control the narrative, meaning when you talk about a project, how do you explain it to your friend? How do you control what these people say to your friend about your project, right? Those are the things I was talking about. So pretty sure a lot of people got a lot of value out of it. There's no recording of it. You know, you have to go to the live events to really hear what I'm saying. But, you know, overall, I would say it's pretty good. We had free food and everything like that. So pretty happy that it was a great turnout, especially for a 777 collection and having 100 people there. Like there are a lot of NFT events that, you know, struggle to get 100 people. And so, you know, shout out to everybody that came out. Shout out to, you know, all my friends and the community members that came to support. It was really fun. When it comes to the Parallax, obviously we just minted and we just finished the art review. Was literally just like last week, right? So obviously still like new in early stages of all of these things. For the next event for NFTs, what I plan to do is I plan to travel, you know, to different countries depending on what events are there, right? We did the NFT NYC Parallax meetup, right after we minted, and then we did the Singapore meetup, which, you know, the Parallax obviously sponsored and provided food and put the venue together, right? And so in the future, whenever there are more NFT events that, you know, I'm personally going to go to, I'm going to try to set up physical meetups over there, depending on whether it's going to be like London if there's an NFT event, or maybe other countries in Southeast Asia or in America, or even Japan. You know, Japan is a place that I've been wanting to go for NFTs. So it really just depends on where the people are gathering, and then that's where I'll try to get the community together. And, you know, for the Parallax, our audience is pretty much global at this point, right? And so, you know, every country we go to, if there's like people are interested in NFTs, probably there's a Parallax community there as well. And let me know in the comments, what country and what city are you currently at, and where do you want to see a Parallax event? You know, let me know what kind of events are popping up, and, you know, I'll try to fly over there if it makes sense. I really feel like there needs to be like a NFT NYC, but somewhere in Asia as well, because like New York is cool, but, you know, for people that are living on the other side of the world, it's literally like a 25 hour flight, and it's quite brutal, honestly. Last time I went to New York, I literally flew 25 hours one way, stayed 4 days, and flew 25 hours the other way. So pretty brutal. So I think in the future, there are going to be more NFT events in, you know, the Asia side of the world. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Asia, but then it's like on the Eastern Hemisphere, I believe that's what it's called. Me and a couple friends are actually planning some stuff, hopefully for Vietnam, NFT Vietnam, maybe NFT Asia. That's something in the works, something we're thinking about, but stay tuned for more information on that. So moving forward, you know, besides going to, you know, obviously the Parallax event and putting that together, obviously I went to the Godjira event, which was pretty cool. You know, we went to different places, like booked out different like venues and clubs and stuff like that to make their announcement and things. The main benefit for me in actually going and the value that I got was just meeting all the different founders involved in Godjira, like Sean and stuff, really connecting with people in the space, because right now during a bear market, it's kind of challenging for everybody, you know, trying to make it in this space, right? And so by learning who the people who are actually trying to build for the long term, whether or not they get it right, but actually have the right intention, I think that's very important, especially during a bear, because when the bull comes back around, you kind of know like who's real and who's not, who's in it for the money, and who's only going to be around when they're making money, and who's going to be around even through the tough times. That's where the real relationships are built, right? And not just, you know, going to the Godjira events and meeting everyone, which is cool. Also going to Nas Academy, timing, I actually had another event that I also went to, and actually you're kind of meeting the same people in the same circle, honestly, because the NFT space is so small. But at the end of the day, like, this space is actually driven by connections, who you know, what information you have. So it's very important to make these connections, whether you're just starting out, whether you're a project founder. Like, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to understand that. Also for me, back 6 months ago, I wasn't really anybody in the NFT space, and my first real breakthrough was went to the Carrefour Carnival way back a couple months ago, where I started to make some connections in the space. So if you're someone that's starting out, maybe you're a content creator, maybe you're a project founder, I highly recommend you go to these events, because you don't have to be a somebody to attend. You can just be someone interested and trying to do something with the right intention, and you definitely will be invited into the space. Now, next I want to talk about is a powerful lesson that I've learned during my time at Singapore, and actually it was stemming from a conversation with me and Tubasa, which is a Parallax community member who has supported the Parallax quite a bit since the early days, but also just as a friend, right? And so one thing we were talking about is when you are buying NFTs, after you buy, there's always this point of like, okay, I bought the thing, what's next, right? In the Web2 world, there's something called a customer journey, meaning if you acquire a customer, somebody buys your software or whatever it is, there's this whole journey that the company maps out for you, and they kind of walk you through what you should be doing, what you should check out, what value you should be getting if you're going to be paying for a product and service, right? The whole point is to give you a great experience and also to monetize that customer, right? And make money from that customer. I feel like for the NFT space, because it's so new, and a lot of people really, they're just making money from the actual initial mint and then royalties after that. There's no customer journey quite yet. It's not as well thought out. Obviously, some people are thinking it out, but like for the majority of the project, especially for the smaller projects, right, which are more like independent brands, there's no customer journey, like literally no customer journey, right? So let me start with this, right? When somebody buys your NFT, you have to give them a reason for why they should hold, right? So let's say you buy into a project and they have this long-term vision of they want to build XYZ, whatever it is, right? Well, if you're thinking, okay, if I spend this money now, I'll have to hold it for, I don't know, 1 or 2 years before they actually finish that product that they're trying to build. So why would I hold it and take the risk now? Because the price might go up, it might probably go down because it's going to take a long time, when I could just wait. And then if I really believe in the project, I'll just buy it right before they have the big news, right? Because a lot of times it doesn't actually pay off to always diamond hand in some senses, right? Sometimes it does, right? Like if you held Ethereum when it was like $100 and you held it to now, yeah, it's 10x. A lot of times if you diamond hand from the beginning, sometimes you're like down 20x, right? I think a really good example would be like Azuki when they came out with the beans, right? If you held a Azuki at the very beginning and you held it all the way to when the beans came out, which was the airdrop, like check your wallets, right? Obviously there's a big reward. But if you look at the sales volume for Azuki right before, or like a couple days before the actual beans drop, there suddenly was a lot of volume for beans, meaning that a lot of people had inside information that the beans were going to drop, whether it leaked or whatever. And so the people that held in the beginning, obviously they get free beans, which is free money, absolutely great. But then they held it for a long time and took all that risk, right? But the people that bought right before the airdrop, they got the same reward as the people that bought in the beginning, and they got the same thing, right? And so as an NFT project, for retention and keeping people interested in the community, there has to be something that keeps people interested throughout the entire way, so that they don't feel like, oh, like somebody got the same reward as I did, but I took all that risk when this guy just bought it one day before the news, right? What that actually looks like, it's kind of difficult to say, because it's like if you're building a long-term project, you might get distracted by building all these mini things that nobody really cares about. So that's it hypes up the news, but it's like not really that great. So I think there has to be some kind of event or some kind of experience or some kind of reward that rewards people for holding for a long time, which I understand, like why Moonbird's doing that, the whole nesting system, right? Because you're supposed to get something throughout the way, but if those things aren't very valuable, then it's like what's the point, right? And so that's something I'm personally thinking about, and I'm sure other projects, every project has to think about. Otherwise your users will sell out and they won't want to hold, because they're like, well, I'm taking all this risk, but like what am I actually getting, right? That's very important if you really think about it. Like if you're buying NFTs, especially during a bear, think about customer journey. People don't have to get it right on the first try. It's not easy to do. Try to just see if like people have the right intentions and they're actually having that conversation with their community to find what they can do. Now let's go ahead and talk about some upcoming mints. So obviously I went to the Godjira event and they had this big announcement where they're going to be dropping a new mint. It's basically going to be a 3-in-1. So if by the time this comes out, it'll probably minted already. Now this is quite interesting because it kind of follows the footsteps of Carrefour 3D, right? So if you bought a Carrefour 3D, you get the 3D one, you get the VX, and then I believe you get the 2D pixelated one, right? Now the challenge here is that this is not just for Godjira specifically, but anybody in general. It's kind of like saying like you're going to be a metaverse brand, meaning that whatever platform is going to be popular, whether it's Sandbox or whatever 3D thing is going to be popular, like you're going to be there, right? The challenge here is that when you're doing so many different things at once, I'm not sure how high quality each one will be. For example, like CloneX came out with their 3D files, and those are very high quality, and it's very specific towards creators, which is a great use case, right? You know, they have Voxel and stuff too, but I think that's kind of like on the back burner. But then like for a more independent project, it's like if you have this 3D project of the Godjira, it's like I would actually, you know, ask the question of what will people use it for, right? Are they going to use it the same way they're going to use CloneX 3D files? Is there an audience that will use it? Are there holders the type of person that would use those files in that way? Or do they want these 3D files to be used in the game, similar to how you might use a Cyberkong VX in the game, right? So I think those questions definitely arise. And then for the VX is also how popular will Sandbox be in the future? I think when I first started NFTs, like everybody was talking about Sandbox, everybody was like buying land in Sandbox. It really felt like it was going to be something. But then like, you know, some of the early demos are out for Sandbox and it's not as exciting as people thought it would be. I'm really curious to see how it plays out. And it could be that, you know, Sandbox blows up, you know, 1 year from now and I'm totally wrong, right? But, you know, these are the risks that you definitely have to consider when you are thinking about these kind of projects. I'm not saying it's a bad or good project. I'm just raising these points that anybody would raise if they are thinking about minting. But overall, you know, shout out to Godjira. You know, they are nice guys. I feel like they have the right intention. If you're interested in that, check it out, learn more about their project, join their Discord to see if it's a community for you. So the next project we're going to be talking about is going to be the Ledger Market Pass Genesis collection. So Ledger actually came out with their own NFT, and obviously for Ledger, right, you know, originally it was made for you to kind of secure your assets in a hard wallet, whether it's like coins and stuff like that. And then now NFTs are becoming more popular. So, you know, for me, I store all my NFTs on a Ledger as well. And so now it's really interesting to see them make a conscious decision to be like, okay, like we are really going to go into NFTs and we're going to create our own NFT, which is like this market pass. It wasn't as clear to me as possible. Like I wasn't really sure what they were selling or what you're getting. And so I'll try my best to kind of explain it based on, you know, what I'm getting on their website. So the pass is NFT, and there's going to be certain benefits to getting this pass. So Genesis NFT that includes exclusive collaborations, limited edition hardware, and more. You're going to be able to redeem a limited edition Black on Black Nano X. You're going to have the opportunity to mint exclusive art from my understanding. So I suppose they're probably going to make some limited edition collections as NFTs that maybe you can mint if you have this pass. I guess there could be value in that, assuming that whatever they do create is of value. I guess people speculate that whatever limited drops they're going to do might be worth it. Quite interesting that they would enter the space, right? Because, you know, normally you don't really see hardware products creating their own NFT, but this is another way to, you know, sell out 10,000 ledgers very quickly, right? From that perspective, it's a lot of marketing, it's a lot of upfront sales, gets people more interested in Ledger. And then if they're planting the flag, they're saying like, hey, we're going to be the best hardware device for like NFTs. If they put the flag now, maybe 2-3 years in the future, if they're just dominating the space, then they're just going to capture that market share, right? Because my guess is that it's not really necessary about like the upfront mint and the money and stuff like that. I feel like it's more about the branding, the marketing exposure that they get, and just telling people that, hey, if you're gonna buy NFTs, you have to buy a Ledger. Even for me, right? Like I've used a Treasure before, and that one was quite a pain to use, honestly, when it came to the NFT. Like my transactions weren't going through on OpenSea, and I felt like my NFTs were like stuck in this, and I was like, forget it, I'm just gonna go Ledger. That's just my personal experience. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but yeah, I can definitely see them, Ledger, making the moves in the NFT space, and they're doing it right. And by the way, if you haven't seen it already, make sure to check out our interview with Spirit DAO. I actually talked to one of the core members, Mike, who actually does all the buying for Spirit DAO. They spend, you know, hundreds of ETH on like rare Azuki, so it was definitely an interesting interview. If you want to learn about like why people buy Grails, or you know, why whales buy certain things, why people have so much conviction in Azuki, even though there's like all that FUD. So definitely an interview you got to check out. Link is in the description. And so with that said, that's everything we got to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments what kind of videos you want to see next. And I'll see you guys in the next one.